Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto, and in this video I'm gonna be comparing these two zoom lenses, the Lumix G 12-32mm and the Lumix X 12-35mm, and we're gonna see if there's any sense to buy this more expensive Pro lens. The reason I'm making this comparison, which may at first seem to have no point, is that I recently published a review on this 12-35mm f2.8 lens, and in some of the comments people were asking if it makes any sense or what's the point, because this tiny 12-32mm Lumix G is so sharp and compact and very affordable. And by the way, from now on I'm gonna refer this tiny lens as the Lumix G and this Pro lens as the Lumix X to make it easier to talk about these lenses. And I'm gonna start by talking about the sharpness, because the sharpness is where these lenses have the most in common. They are pretty much equally sharp, both. And I can already hear somebody asking, what's the point of the Pro lens if it's not even sharper? But let me explain. At the wide end, these are almost equal. This X lens is a little bit better. And at the telephoto end, this X is clearly better lens, but this is not bad either, and if you look at the pictures without too much pixel peeping, it's really hard to tell which one is which. But this X has 2 stops brighter maximum aperture at the telephoto end and about 1.5 stops faster maximum aperture at the wide end. And faster lens is always much more difficult to design than a slow lens. And also, in terms of light gathering capabilities, 2 stops is a lot. You can, for example, use ISO 200 instead of ISO 800. And the optical performance of the X is wide open as good as at f5.6, pretty much. But in terms of practical photography, there's not much difference between these lenses in terms of pure sharpness. Especially if you publish mainly on social media like Instagram or some Facebook groups or whatever. The image size is so small that it's gonna be really hard to tell these lenses apart just by looking at the photos. However, this X handles backlight better than the tiny G lens. And I know some of you are asking for side-by-side comparison pictures, but I'm sorry to say I don't have such pictures because I don't much enjoy making that kind of pictures. I have more fun taking real photographs. There are a lot of websites and even YouTubers who enjoy making lab tests, so please check them out. There's at least one website called opticallimits.com right here, and they have a lab test of both of these lenses, so please check it out and compare the results there. The minimum focusing distance is almost the same on both lenses. This tiny Lumix G is focus is a little bit closer at 12mm, but this Lumix X focus is a little bit closer at 35mm. And talking about the zoom range, it's almost identical on both lenses. This X is about 3mm like longer at the telephoto end, but that's really not a big deal. Just a little bit of cropping in the Lumix G picture and you get the same exact framing and you will not lose that many pixels there. And here are some pictures that I've shot on both of these lenses. But like I said before, I don't have any side-by-side comparison pictures because taking that kind of pictures is not really that much fun. It's much more fun to shoot real pictures, and here are some real pictures. Both lenses have also optical stabilizer built in, and both are dual IS compatible. I have not tested which one has more effective stabilizer, but I have a feeling that this X has more effective stabilizer. The autofocus is really fast and silent on both lenses. However, there's no manual focus ring on the tiny Lumix G. So if you for some reason need to focus manually, then the X is a lot better choice. But I don't think you're gonna need manual focus in normal shooting much because both lenses focus really fast and reliably. And then about the build quality. And that's where these lenses have almost nothing in common. While this tiny Lumix G is pretty decent lens for what it is, it's still clear that it's a consumer grade lens. It's not weather sealed and it's pretty plasticky, and it's clearly not meant for 24/7 heavy duty use. It's a good lens for casual shooting, but it's not a pro-grade lens. But the X instead is well-built, robust construction for heavy-duty use even in harsh conditions. The outer case is metal and the zoom and focus rings are big enough to handle even with gloves. If you have to wear gloves when you're using your equipment, it has a proper lens hood and it's weather sealed. And this is like a workhorse lens for a professional photographer who's using his or her equipment every day, all the time. One of the biggest upside with the tiny Lumix G is that it's so tiny. It weighs about 70 grams and it fits in almost any pocket. So for example, if you travel and you don't need f2.8 and weather sealing, then this is an excellent choice. It's sharp and compact and lightweight, and that's exactly what you need if you travel. And this Lumix X is not a big lens either, but it's clearly a lot bigger than the tiny Lumix G. But if you need weather sealing, robust construction, f2.8, and you are a heavy user or maybe even a professional, then the Lumix X is your lens. And also, if you are a professional, the price of this lens is not a big deal, really. This is not a super expensive lens. It's something like 800, 1000 euros or dollars, which is not a lot for a pro-grade lens. But if you are a casual shooter, then this tiny Lumix G might just be your lens. It's a really, really good lens for such a tiny plastic lens. I have a separate review of both of these lenses, and I'll put a link to those at the end of this video so you can check them out if you're interested. So when you're buying a pro-grade lens, it's not only about sharpness. You are buying robust build quality, weather sealing, and long-term reliability in hard use. But if you're just a casual shooter or amateur who's not using his or her equipment every day, then in most cases a consumer grade lens is just as good, because these days many consumer grade lenses or even so-called kit lenses are really, really good optically. I mean, they are sharp. My final words are that both lenses are really good and sharp, but they are for slightly different purpose. The X is for a heavy-duty user or a professional who's using his or her lens or equipment every day, and the equipment has to deliver even in the harshest or the worst shooting conditions. And the tiny G is for a casual shooter or someone who's looking for a tiny, compact, lightweight zoom lens. Thank you so much for watching, and by the way, here are the reviews of both of these lenses. Please check them out. Thanks so much for watching, keep safe, and I'll see you in the next one.